video, I will be listing the top 5 reptiles that I have for children. Now, this is different to the top 5 reptiles for beginners, as there are different things that children will need to just someone who's new to reptiles. And so in this video, I will name the 5 reptiles that I think are most suitable for children, and the reptiles that I think that children can get the most education and enjoyment out of. Okay, so in at number 5, we have king snakes. Now, some king snakes can be a bit precarious, however, the majority of king snakes make great pets and are a really fascinating genus of snakes. Overall, they are very active, they feed well, and they're relatively cheap, making them a good option for parents of young children who want a pet snake, however don't want to pay out for expensive setups or the animal itself. However, I have never truly owned a king snake. I've only ever experienced them, so my knowledge is a bit rough on them. So I've asked a few people that have owned them, and they say that they're a really good choice. Okay, so in at number 4, we have Pac-Man frogs. Now, these creatures aren't actually reptiles, they are amphibians. However, I think they would make the perfect reptile or, well, pet for children. The reason for this is that they are extremely cheap. A setup and an animal will cost less than £50 if you do it, economically. However, if you want to go a bit more out there and get a better morph or something like that, it can go up to about £100, but overall it's quite cheap. They're a very interesting animal, the way they burrow and ambush prey, and it's a very fascinating and educational animal to show to a child, and it's not a lot of work for a parent because obviously they just need to be sprayed once a day and offered a bit of food. But other than that, there's nothing real care to put into them. One downside to these is that they don't really enjoy being handled. They can occasionally be handled, but overall, as a whole, they don't enjoy it that much, and they can become a bit stressed, and they can have skin problems if they're handled too much. In at number 3, I have the crested gecko. These lizards come from New Caledonia and are an arboreal species of gecko. The animal and setup should cost no less than £100. That's for an adult. However, for a hatchling you can get a baby crested gecko and a setup for less than £30. These geckos can be easily handled and are relatively cheap to take care of. They need a decent amount of humidity, so it should be sprayed once to twice a day. However, overall they're relatively easy to care for and don't take any insects, which will definitely be a benefit for any of you parents that don't like insects. They eat kind of in like a powder that gets wet and turns into like a gel type, and they just lick that up because in the wild they eat like rotting fruits. So they're really easy to care for and children tend to love them. In at number 2, I have the corn snake. Corn snakes are not very quick, enjoy handling, have a nice temperament, and are usually amazing feeders. You can get corn snakes in a wide range of colour morphs and mutations, and overall they are a very nice snake to look at and care for. They are not very expensive and they are not very difficult to care for at all, and children usually get along great with them. They love being handled and definitely love coming out a lot, and are also active for most of the day. One downside to this is that if you don't put a lot of time into handling your corn snake, they may turn aggressive, which you definitely don't want. So if you notice your child isn't handling it probably maybe 2 to 3 times a week, you should probably step in there and start handling it just to prevent it from getting too aggressive. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's definitely a possibility. Finally, in at number 1 is the leopard gecko. Definitely being the most popular gecko in captivity, it hasn't done that by chance. These geckos are extremely easy to care for, with a setup costing no more than £30 or £40 if you're being economical. The leopard geckos themselves can go from £5,000 to £5,000, so there is really a large range of choice. These geckos are really easy to care for and come from an arid region. This means they don't need to be sprayed for humidity like a crested gecko would. They also don't require a large amount of space. A 3 foot by 18 inch by 18 inch enclosure should suffice one gecko for its entire lifespan. I actually have a leopard gecko called Citrus, and I think she's absolutely amazing. She's the first one I get out with my little niece and nephew for them to hold. The only problem with leopard geckos with really young children is that their tails can easily fall off like with other geckos, and so if you have young children they really have to be careful around the tail area to prevent it falling off. Now the tails are by no means really fragile and weak, but one quick squeeze can easily cause it to fall off. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it informational, and I hope it helps you choose the right pet for your child, and I hope this has led you to go and do your own research into whatever animal you've chosen. A like and a subscribe would go a long way for me. Thank you for watching. It's been JFC Exotics.